They ranked Jordan Love 72, and that should make every Packers fan angry. Because this is not just a ranking. This is a message. It is the NFL telling you that even after 3 straight playoff trips, even after Jordan Love put together his cleanest and most efficient season yet, even after this team kept fighting through injuries, inconsistency, and pressure, a huge part of the league still does not fully believe in the Green Bay Packers. And today, we're going to talk about why that matters, why this ranking feels wrong, why Josh Jacobs deserves more respect too, what it says about the Packers going into the season, where I think Green Bay finishes in the NFC North, which player is about to make the biggest leap, and yes, I'm answering a few of your questions and giving you a little more of my own Packers story along the way. Welcome back to Go Packer Hub. Let's start with the part that jumped off the screen. Jordan Love comes in at number 72 on the NFL Top 100, voted on by the players. And on the surface, some people are going to shrug and say, well, that sounds about right. Top 100 player, good quarterback, solid season, what is the problem? The problem is that if you actually watched him, if you actually watched this offense, if you actually looked at the full picture instead of stopping at the box score, number 72 feels low. Not just a little low. It feels like the league still has not caught up to where Jordan Love is as a quarterback. And here is what makes it even more frustrating. This is not Jordan Love sneaking onto the list for the first time. This is his 3rd straight year making the top 100. He was number 34 in 2024, then number 68, and now he slides again to 72. So if you just follow the ranking trend, the message is obvious. The players think Jordan Love is moving backward. And I do not think that tells the real story at all. Yes, some raw numbers came down from that breakout 2023 season. That part is true. In 2025, Love threw for 3,381 yards with 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, a 66.3 completion rate, and a 101.2 passer rating. Those are not fake numbers, and I am not here to ignore them. But those numbers also show something important. He became a more controlled, more efficient, more mature quarterback. Fewer mistakes, better command, better ball security, better understanding of when to attack and when to take what the defense gives him. The stat line may not scream fireworks the way 2023 did, but the quarterback on the field looked more complete. That matters. Packers.com, https://www.packers.com/team/players-roster/Jordan-Love. Packers.com, https://www.packers.com/news/packers-QB-Jordan-Love-rank-no-720-2026. And that is where I think a lot of people get this wrong. Fans, media, and sometimes even players love big counting stats because they are easy. More yards, more touchdowns, bigger highlight package, bigger reputation. But quarterback play is not always about doing more. Sometimes it is about doing the hard part better. It is about understanding leverage before the snap. It is about moving safeties with your eyes. It is about surviving bad pockets without turning a drive into a disaster. It is about taking a defense that wants you impatient and making it pay with discipline. Jordan Love got better in those areas. If you watched him closely, you saw it. And that is why this ranking hits a nerve. Because it feels like he is being graded by the wrong test. People are looking at the drop in volume and acting like it proves he is less dangerous. I do not buy that. In fact, I think the opposite may be true. I think Jordan Love is getting closer to his peak. I think he is sharper. I think he is more comfortable in the offense. I think he understands what NFL defenses are trying to bait him into. And I think there were stretches last season when the offense around him did not always let him fully cash in on how well he was playing. That is the real conversation, by the way. Was the increase in efficiency just the result of a safer, more conservative structure? Or did the Packers leave some meat on the bone because they did not fully turn him loose? I lean hard toward the second answer. I think there were games where Green Bay clearly wanted to protect the football, shorten the game, and stay within structure. There is logic to that. But I also think there were moments where you could feel the offense holding back a little, even while Love himself looked ready to press the gas. And that is why I keep coming back to this point. Ranking him 72 may look respectable to outsiders, but for people who watch this team every week, it feels like the league still does not understand what kind of quarterback he is becoming. He is not just a talented thrower. He is not just a good athlete. He is starting to look like a quarterback who understands how to win in multiple ways. Those guys usually climb. They do not slide. Now, to be fair, let's not turn this into pretending the season was flawless. There were stretches where the offense bogged down. There were games where Green Bay left plays out there. There were moments when you still wanted a little more urgency, a little more killer instinct, a little more downfield stress. That is real too. But when you stack the whole season together, Jordan Love looked more like a quarterback you trust than a quarterback you are still trying to figure out. That is a big difference. The players voted him into the top 100, so clearly they respect him. I just think they still ranked him too low. And here is another reason Packers fans are irritated. This team has now gone to the playoffs 3 straight years with Jordan Love as the starter. 3 straight years. At some point, that stops being an accident. At some point, that stops being cute young team energy. At some point, people need to admit Green Bay is not building toward relevance. They already are relevant. And Jordan Love is one of the biggest reasons why. So when I see number 72, I do not see a disaster. I see fuel. I see a quarterback who has enough talent to make that ranking look silly by mid-season. I see a guy who can use that number as a reminder that the league still is not fully sold. And honestly, I like that for him. I like angry Jordan Love. I like motivated Jordan Love. I like Jordan Love going into a season with something to prove. Now let's talk about the other Packer who landed on the list, Josh Jacobs at number 74. This one feels a little different. I still think it is on the low side, but I understand the reaction more. Jacobs had 929 rushing yards and 13 rushing touchdowns in 15 games. The yards per carry number was not eye-popping, and he did not have that monster headline total that always gets people talking. But 13 rushing touchdowns matters. Doing it in 15 games matters. And the bigger career context matters too, because since entering the league in 2019, Jacobs ranks near the top of the NFL in rushing production across the board. He is still one of the more reliable backs in football, and the official Packers write-up notes he became only the second player in franchise history, along with Jim Taylor, to post 13-plus rushing touchdowns in back-to-back seasons. That is not normal production. That is impact production. Packers.com, https://www.packers.com/news/packers-rb-josh-jacobs-rank-no-74-and-NFL-top-100-2026. Packers.com, https://www.packers.com/team/players-roster/Josh-Jacobs. And that is why even with Jacobs, I still come back to the same theme. The Packers are being viewed as less dangerous than they actually are. Love at 72. Jacobs at 74. Good enough to acknowledge, not respected enough to fear. That is the gap. And honestly, that may be the perfect place for Green Bay to live right now. Because when the Packers are fully embraced by everybody, that usually means expectations are enormous and every week becomes its own national overreaction test. But when the Packers are good enough to matter and doubted enough to stay hungry, that is a pretty dangerous combination. That is when teams can make real noise. And I think that is where Green Bay is sitting right now. They are not a mystery anymore, but they are still underestimated. They have a quarterback who is more efficient than the ranking suggests. They have a running back who still punches defenses in the mouth. They have young pass catchers with upside. They have a defense that should be better in year 2 under Jeff Hafley. And yes, they now have Micah Parsons in the building, which completely changes the ceiling of the front. That is not a fake storyline. That is a real reason for opposing teams to lose sleep. Jeff Hafley is the defensive coordinator, and Micah Parsons is officially on the Packers roster after being acquired in August 2025. Packers.com, https://www.packers.com/news/packers-name-jeff-hafley-defensive-coordinator. Packers.com, https://www.packers.com/team/players-roster/Micah-Parsons. So when people ask, do I really think this defense can take another step, the answer is yes. Absolutely yes. And not because I think everything is magically perfect. It is because second-year comfort in a system matters. Communication matters. Trust matters. Players playing faster because they are not thinking as much matters. And then you add a game wrecker like Micah Parsons to that mix. That changes the math. That changes protection plans. That changes how offenses call games. That changes how often your secondary gets easy chances because the quarterback has to rush. That is real football value. I also think the back end of this defense deserves more credit. One of the things I like most about Green Bay's trajectory is how much trust one am starting to build in the safety room. Xavier McKinney gives you stability and presence, and the official team coverage has gone out of its way to praise the chemistry between McKinney, Evan Williams, and Javon Bullard, calling them part of the backbone of the defense. Evan Williams in particular has been praised for looking instinctive from day one. That matters when we talk about who is going to pop this season. Packers.com, https://www.packers.com/news/inbox-evan-williams-got-from-day-1-june-23-2026. So let's get into some of your questions, because a lot of them connect directly directly to this bigger point about how high the Packers can climb. Where do I think Green Bay finishes in the NFC North? This division is chaos. Real chaos. And I mean that in the best way. Last season, the Bears won it at 11-6. The Packers finished second at 9-7-1. The Vikings and Lions both finished 9-8. So anybody still running with old assumptions about the North being owned by one team is already behind. This thing is a fight every single week. NFL.com, https://www.nfl.com/standings/division/2025/reg. Now my prediction. I think the Packers can win the division. Yes, I said it. And I am not saying that because I think everybody else in the North is falling apart. I am saying it because I think Green Bay has the most balanced path to improvement. Chicago earned respect for winning the division, but repeating in this league is hard, especially when your margin is thin. Detroit still has explosiveness and offensive firepower, but that team took a step back in the standings. Minnesota is always annoying and always dangerous in spots, but I still trust Green Bay's quarterback situation more than theirs over a full season. What tips it for me is this: if Jordan Love really is becoming the version of himself that I think he is, and if the defense under Hafley gets even a little more disruptive, then Green Bay has enough to win ugly, enough to win fast, and enough to win late. That is what a division winner looks like. So if I had to call it right now, I would go Packers first, Bears second, Vikings third, Lions fourth. Not because Detroit has no talent, not because Chicago is fake, but because I think Green Bay is the team best positioned to rise. Now, could that change? Of course. Injuries change everything. One offensive line slump changes everything. One bad month in the red zone changes everything. But on paper and on trajectory, I like where the Packers are sitting. Another question I got was who should be the #1 receiver this season, Christian Watson or Matthew Golden? Right now, if I have to give one clean answer, I still say Christian Watson. And the reason is simple: proven ceiling. Watson's official 2025 numbers show 611 yards and 6 touchdowns in just 10 games, and he averaged 17.5 yards per catch. That is game-breaking stuff. That is not just production. That is pressure. Defenses feel that. Safeties feel that. Corners feel that. You cannot teach size and speed together at that level. When Watson is healthy and locked in, he changes the geometry of the field. Packers.com, https://www.packers.com/team/players-roster/Christian-Watson. Now, can Matthew Golden make a real push? Absolutely. Golden finished his rookie year with 29 catches for 361 yards, and I still think there is a lot of growth in front of him. He has burst, he has juice, and he can become a problem. But if you are asking me who should be treated like WR1 until proven otherwise, it is Watson. Golden can absolutely make the biggest statistical jump, but Watson still has the higher impact profile right now. Packers.com, https://www.packers.com/team/players-roster/Matthew-Golden. Packers.com, https://www.packers.com/team/players-roster/Christian-Watson. That leads right into another question: which player makes the biggest leap this season? If we are talking raw box score growth, my answer is Matthew Golden. Rookie year done. More comfort, more trust, more timing with Jordan Love, more understanding of how NFL corners play him. Those second-year jumps at wide receiver can happen fast. So if you want the cleanest statistical breakout pick, I think Golden is a strong one. But if we are talking recognition around the league, I keep coming back to Javon Bullard and Evan Williams. Packers fans already know those guys can play. The question is when the rest of the league catches up. Bullard has the kind of edge coaches love. Evan Williams has already been praised internally for his instincts and chemistry. Those are the players who can go from good young pieces to, oh, this guy is a real difference maker in a hurry. And I want to throw one more name in there too, Marshawn Lloyd. If he stays healthy, he feels like a sneaky swing player in this offense. Not necessarily the lead back, because Jacobs is still the guy, but someone who can inject speed, change tempo, and steal hidden yards. Those players matter more than people think. Another question: do I really believe the defense will look better this season? Yes, I really do. But let me say it the right way. I do not think the defense needs to become the 2000 Ravens to change this team's ceiling. It just needs to become more consistently disruptive, more timely, better on money downs, better at turning pressure into drive-killing moments, better at making opponents pay when they fall behind the sticks. With Hafley settling in, Micah Parsons affecting protections, and the safety group building chemistry, I think the ingredients are there. And let's be honest, sometimes the biggest defensive leap is not even about about raw talent. It is about clarity. It is about players understanding what they are seeing, understanding where their help is, understanding what the call is trying to take away, and trusting each other enough to play fast. The Packers have a real chance to look more connected on that side of the ball. If that happens, it helps everybody. It helps the corners. It helps the linebackers. It helps the pass rush. And it definitely helps Jordan Love, because shorter fields and more possessions make life easier for your quarterback. I also got asked if Jagger Burton can play significant snaps in 2026. My answer is yes, and I think he is one of those players fans are going to end up talking about more than the national media does. Offensive line battles never get the same shine as quarterbacks and wideouts, but they are season shapers. If Burton proves he can handle interior pressure, communicate cleanly, and keep the pocket firm, he is going to force his way into the conversation. Maybe it starts as a rotational path. Maybe it starts as the first man up. Maybe it becomes something bigger, but I absolutely think he can matter. Then there was one of my favorite questions. If I could be Brian Gutekunst for one day and make only one move, what would I do? If we are staying realistic, I still love the idea of adding another proven cover guy whenever that opportunity exists. A real, tested, high-end corner can completely change the defense. Pass rush and coverage work together. Everybody knows that. So if there is a chance to shore up the secondary with a true impact player, that is always going to interest me. If we are getting a little more fun with it, then yeah, I am always going to entertain the fantasy trades too. That is part of being a fan. That is part of talking football in July. But the real answer is that if I can make one move, I want it to be a move that raises Green Bay's floor in January. Playoff football exposes weak spots fast. So give me the move that makes this team harder to attack when the weather gets cold and the margins get tight. Now let's step away from the rankings and predictions for a minute, because some of you asked more personal questions too, and I appreciate that. A few of you asked how I became a Packers fan. Honestly, this was never going to be anything else for me. Yes, I live in Texas. I have been here for a long time, but my roots are in Wisconsin. My family roots are in Wisconsin. That identity never left. It never even came close to leaving. I was born there. My family is from there. My grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, all of that still ties back to that world. So for me, being a Packers fan was never some random choice. It was part of the air, and maybe living in Texas made it even stronger, because when you live around another football culture every day, you either drift into it or you hold even tighter to your own. I held tighter. I never switched over. I never adopted the Cowboys. I never adopted the Longhorns. I never adopted A&M. That was never happening. I stayed with the Badgers. I stayed with the Packers. If anything, being surrounded by Cowboys talk probably made me even more stubborn about it. And if you are a Packers fan, then you know what comes with that loyalty. It is not just the great moments. It is the brutal playoff losses too. And let's be honest, Green Bay has put us through some pain. Real pain. The kind of losses that stick with you. The kind of losses that make you stare at the wall for 20 minutes after the game ends. But that is what makes fandom real. It is not just celebrating when the team wins. It is still showing up when the losses hurt. That is also why I love doing this channel. Because this is not just football talk for me. This is history, memory, family, frustration, obsession, and hope all wrapped into one thing. And being able to share that with other Packers fans who care the same way is the best part of all of this. And speaking of that, I really do want to say thank you. Every view, every comment, every like, every argument in the comments, every time you stop by and talk ball with me, it all matters. It helps this channel grow, and more importantly, it helps this feel like a real Packers community. That is what I want Go Packer Hub to be. A place where we can celebrate, react, disagree, overanalyze, and still come back the next day ready to do it all over again. Now let me hit a few quicker ones. My two favorite Packers who are not quarterbacks. If I am being honest, Charles Woodson and Clay Matthews are always going to be near the top for me. Those are guys who did not just make plays. They changed the feeling of games. Woodson brought swagger. Clay brought chaos. You felt them. If you want another name outside that lane, Davante Adams absolutely deserves love too. And if you want a more old-school fan-favorite answer, William Henderson will always have a place in the conversation. Real Packers fans know. One more food-related question came in, and I am glad it did, because this one matters. My go-to Culver's order starts with a large cheese curds. Non-negotiable. Then give me a double butter burger with cheese and bacon, ketchup and mustard, and finish it off with a vanilla concrete mixer with Reese's peanut butter cups. Clean. Efficient. No wasted motion. Exactly how we like it. And yes, for anybody wondering, it still feels a little wild to have Culver's in Texas. I respect it. Now before I wrap this up, let's bring it back to where we started, because this whole thing really comes down to one question. What exactly is Jordan Love right now? Because I think that is what this ranking is forcing us to confront. If he is just a good quarterback with occasional hot stretches, then number 72 is fine, maybe even fair. But if he is what I think he is becoming, which is a genuine top-tier problem for defenses who now understands the position at a much deeper level, then 72 is not going to age well. Not at all. And I think that is why Packers fans reacted the way they did. It is not just emotional. It is not just blind loyalty. It is that a lot of us feel like we are watching the league lag behind reality. We see the growth. We see the control. We see the improved decision-making. We see the arm talent. We see the poise. We see how much pressure he absorbs simply because he is Green Bay's quarterback, and we see that he keeps handling it. So let the league rank him 72. Let them rank Josh Jacobs 74. Let them act like the Packers are a nice team instead of a dangerous team. That is fine, because all that really does is set the stage. It gives Green Bay a chip on its shoulder. It gives Jordan Love a number to remember. It gives this locker room a reason to believe people still do not get it. And if that turns into sharper football in September, better execution in October, cleaner wins in November, and a tougher team in December, then Packers fans may end up loving this whole disrespect cycle. Because nothing is more fun than watching your team prove people wrong. So that is where I stand. Jordan Love at 72 is too low. Josh Jacobs at 74 is too low. The Packers are more dangerous than a lot of people want to admit. I think Green Bay has a real shot to win the NFC North. I think Matthew Golden could make the biggest statistical leap. I think Evan Williams and Javon Bullard are the kinds of players the rest of the league is going to start noticing. I think the defense can take a step. And I think Jordan Love is heading into one of the biggest statement seasons of his career. Now, one last thing before I get out of here. We are still celebrating 10,000 subscribers, and as promised, the Jordan Love and Tucker Kraft picture giveaway is happening. If you want a shot to win it, make sure you like this video, hype this video, and drop a comment down below. I will pick a winner and announce that person on the next show. And if you have thoughts on any of this, I want to hear them. Was Jordan Love ranked too low, too high, or just right? Was Josh Jacobs placed where he belongs, or did the players get that wrong too? Do you think the Packers win the NFC North? Who makes the biggest leap this season? And what is your confidence level in this defense right now? Drop all of it in the comments. And if you are grabbing tickets this year, whether it is Packers, Badgers, baseball, concerts, or anything else, check your current sponsor details and plug them in right here before recording so the read stays accurate and current. Thank you for being here. Thank you for helping build Go Packer Hub. And I will see you in the next one.